Tonight on Panorama, the battle for the soul of the Labour Party. The leader, Jeremy Corbyn, adored by his supporters.
It's not about an individual, it's about what we collectively as a society want to do and want to achieve.
But challenged by his own MPs.
The reason I'm standing is I want the Labour Party to survive.
We've been on the front line of Labour's civil war.
The battle for the soul of the Labour Party is going to be fought out in the streets of Brighton and Hove.
I think we are standing absolutely at the edge of a cliff. And it might well be that one or other of the factions, or both of us, end up going over it.
The fight is turning nasty.
There has been abuse, there has been bullying, and there have been threats. It's real, it's happened to me.
Homophobic, sexist, anti-Semitic. This is absolute nonsense, and I'm offended that my party is being accused of that in this way.
Can the party unite, or is this the end for Labour?
And unless things change radically and rapidly, it's very doubtful that I'll see another Labour government in my lifetime.
Welcome to Brighton, the seaside town with an alternative streak. Summer by the sea and it's holiday weather. But here, inside Labour's biggest local party, the feuding between left and right has grown bitter. The struggle revolves around Jeremy Corbyn. The Labour leader's in town for a leadership campaign rally, and so are more than 1,000 of his supporters.
I think Jeremy Corbyn is perhaps Britain's greatest hope for a genuinely new type of politics.
Many of the volunteers here are Momentum members, the grassroots group fiercely loyal to Corbyn.
We're just ordinary people who are enthused and who have become active because we've got real hope now. This is the politics of hope.
Labour's opinion poll ratings look dismal, and he's fighting to stay on as leader. But he's still smiling, counting on Labour's members whose votes will decide this election.
You know, Jeremy is a breath of fresh air, and he's actually speaking some sense, which is really resonating with people.
Misery. Unite people together. United we're very strong. United as a party, we go forward to create that decent, better society.
Jeremy Corbyn is good at packing out the crowds. They believe in him, and many are drawn to his left-wing policies, anti-Trident, anti-tuition fees, and renationalising the railways.
Great job. I don't bother about what people say best. I know why I got the job.
The Corbyn phenomenon is about timing. Labour's traditional working-class support has been ebbing away for years. Jeremy Corbyn has built a new base and made it all his own. After all those new Labour compromises and one election defeat too many, they wanted something different. Jeremy Corbyn may have been around for decades, but he's certainly something different. Trouble is, most Labour MPs believe he's a hopeless leader, and they are out to stop him. Meet the challenger Corbyn's enemies are pinning their hopes on.
Hello there, sorry to bother you. Owen Smith calling from the Labour Party.
I think you're better than the rest, so...
Thank you very much. Well, there you go. I'm apparently better than the rest. That'll do, I'd say.
He was one of more than 170 Labour MPs who declared they had no confidence in Jeremy Corbyn this summer. And today he's come to Brighton too, campaigning for a council by-election.
I fear that the Labour Party is in danger of an historic split. I think this is a battle for the soul of the Labour Party, and the reason I'm standing is I want the Labour Party to survive. But you're not voting for him? Oh, well, never mind. All right, nice to see you. I'll give you that.
He's won the overwhelming backing of his fellow MPs who believe Jeremy Corbyn is far too left-wing, unelectable.
Beware of the dog. They're always my favourites.
We've got to take seriously the fact that the public are moving away from us, and that on a whole host of areas for a very long time, on the economy, on immigration, on social security, we are losing the argument with the public. We have to do much better at going out and making the case to the public for why they should support us, and we haven't done that.
But those close to Corbyn argue Labour's growing membership tells a different story.
Large numbers of people feel the economy and society is not delivering for them, so they're looking for an alternative. Now, the Labour Party provides that alternative, and that's why they're joining us. We're the biggest political party in Europe now. We're now over 500,000, nearly 600,000, and I think growing all the time. I welcome that.
Whoever wins Labour's leadership contest, they're going to have to try to heal the wounds of a brutal few months. And here in Brighton, the fight has been particularly dirty. No one knows that better than local Labour MP Peter Kyle. A former aid worker and advisor to the Blair government, he won the seat from the Tories in the 2015 election. One of the few bright spots of a dismal Labour performance.
We only have one MP in the southeast beneath London now, and that's me.
I was a very good boy. I went through the whole pile. Well, unfortunately, there's a new pile.
Okay, all right.
Peter and his team have an unexpected problem. The local party membership has doubled to 6,000 in just over a year. It's now the biggest in the country. And some of those new recruits are out to get him.
There's suddenly just this anger, this visceral anger, which is unchanneled and it's unproductive.
I'm pushed away from huge sections of the new membership, and actually I'm finding that democracy's being shut down.
Things have become so reductionist that either you're a Corbynite or you're an enemy. That's not the party that I know and love.
Things came to a head last December when Peter Kyle voted in favour of airstrikes on Syria in a free vote. In the days that followed, he received abusive and threatening messages.
What I saw during the Syria debate was something that was a shock for me. Within the party, there was an almost uncontrollable rage within one bit of it that was being incited by people around the leader, perhaps, by people within momentum, with people with axes to grind.
I didn't join politics.
Drop into any party meeting in this constituency and Labour's divisions are loud and clear and heartfelt.
But it strikes me that Jeremy Corbyn's followers are keener on fighting via the social media. Yeah. And I dipped into the Labour Party forum for a week. Now, I'm made of strong stuff, but these deeply horrible, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, homophobic, vitriolic, thick, and just mean people sent me away. I couldn't stand it. It was messing with my head.
There is a slight bit of prejudgment on new members because you automatically assume that just because we're coming in and we're supporting Corbyn that, you know, we're entryists or we're trots or we're stormtroopers or whatever, but we're actually not.
What's happening here in Brighton is a vivid example of what's happening in local Labour parties up and down the country. We've seen MPs pitted against local members, members against each other, and the atmospheres become increasingly poisonous.
There has been abuse, there has been bullying, and there have been threats. It's real, it's happened to me, it's happened to many of my colleagues. Most party members are thoroughly decent, kind people, but there are a small minority who are absolutely determined to silence any alternative voices, any debate, any criticism, and the party simply can't survive that.
The real worry for me is that it's being used to create an image that the Labour Party is some kind of cesspit, homophobic, sexist, anti-Semitic. This is absolute nonsense, and I'm offended that my party is being accused of that in this way. And it's all done to try and shift the blame on Jeremy Corbyn.
Back in Brighton and Hove, the battle for control of Labour has intensified. At July's annual general meeting, a group of Corbyn supporters, backed by Momentum, were elected to key posts. But then, amid hotly contested allegations of bullying, intimidation and vote rigging, the local party was suspended and is now being investigated. Greg Hadfield was elected local party secretary that night before the vote was annulled. A former Daily Mail journalist, he's now one of Brighton's most devoted Jeremy Corbyn supporters.
I think I'm a Nescafe socialist.
Even though to some, he might look a bit like a conservative.
You're not that Tory, are you?
What's on them? No, I'm the secretary of Brighton Hove District Labour Party that was suspended for daring to vote for Jeremy Corbyn. I got 66% of socialist vote, and then they suspended us.
I thought you were that Tory dude from...
That's because I'm wearing a jacket, but there you go.
He's off to rally the troops at a meeting organised by Momentum.
OK, now we're going to have a discussion.
And to turn his fire on the MPs who rebelled against their leader.
We're going to say to Jeremy Corbyn, look behind you. You've got 600,000 members supporting you. Don't look over your shoulder to see 176 people trying to stab you in the back, because when he wins in September, we'll be there for him, and we'll be there for the Labour Party. We're now approaching endgame, that the hidden fractures between the leadership, between MPs, between the members, this is where it's decided. And the battle for the soul of the Labour Party is going to be fought out in the streets of Brighton and Hove. And I'm determined as a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn, we're going to win, because this cannot go on.
In the background to this struggle are two rival visions. Those MPs who mostly believe change should be driven through Parliament, and on the other side, those left-wingers who want to build instead a mass movement way beyond Westminster. Some in Labour see fighting for change outside Parliament as undemocratic. But there's also fear of entryists inside the party, members of far-left groups who've deliberately infiltrated Labour. That's banned under party rules. Brighton is central to these allegations. Ivor CAPLIN used to be an MP here, was a minister in Tony Blair's government. He's now gathering evidence of entryists and attended the July AGM.
What we are seeing is clear entryism. We have seen this. We've got evidence that people who stood for election on the 9th of July are members of other organisations which are prescribed by the Labour Party and have been prescribed since the 1990s. That is completely and utterly unacceptable. And these people have hidden it in order to try and gain their entryism into the Labour Party. And I'm afraid they have to be got out.
Kicked out of the party?
Yes.
Two of those accused of being entryists were elected to the local party's executive committee alongside Greg. The party is still suspended, so meet the Brighton, Hove and District Executive Committee in exile, as they like to call themselves.
This one, you know, I stand with Jeremy Corbyn, it's the basic message.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, and there's stickers as well. These are the Corbyn for Prime Minister, Corbyn for Leader, Love Socialism sticker. We completely ran out of the national Jeremy Corbyn badges, but we've made more of our own local ones. I think this one.
Phil Clarke stood against Labour 5 times, including the 2015 council elections. That's banned under Labour's rules.
I've been in the Socialist Party and stood for Trade Union Socialist Coalition. I did that because I felt that the Labour Party wouldn't again be a voice for working people and the trade unions. I'm not an entryist. I made a personal decision to join the Labour Party. I'm not a member of any prescribed group in the Labour Party. I want to see a Labour Party that is what it was set up to be, which is the voice of working people through the trade unions in Parliament. and that's why I'm a member.
Mark Sandell was elected chairman of the local party until it was suspended. He's accused of being an entryist because of his support for the controversial far-left group, the Alliance for Workers' Liberty.
It's a socialist organisation, not a party. It publishes a newspaper, which I think's a very good newspaper, and I support.
But is he a member of the AWL?
Well, we don't have a membership, you know.
Is he a Trotskyite entryist?
I think that Trotsky is a great socialist. I support a lot of his ideas, not all of his ideas. I don't see myself as an entryist. I think the Labour Party is the place where my politics will be most effective. It's the place where my politics have a history. The Labour Party was founded by some really great socialists who wanted to get rid of capitalism, who wanted to change the world. It was also founded by the trade unions, which I've always been a supporter and member of. Where else would I take my politics? I don't think you should ban people because you don't like their ideas.
But Panorama understands that both men are under investigation by the National Party. They could be banned by Labour for breaching party rules. Some in the party argue there's nothing to worry about.
The Alliance for Workers' Liberty, I mean, they must be delighted that they keep getting mentioned. There must be half a dozen of them in the whole country.
OK, but you know the argument. We have seen many on the left, very many on the left, some from groups or other parties once opposed to Labour, coming aboard and joining behind Jeremy Corbyn. So the idea of entryism, it can't be called a myth, can it?
The vast majority of people who are joining the Labour Party have got nothing to do with Trotskyism or entryism. Of course, there'll be handfuls of people who are old hands and who might be regarded as people who've got a different political agenda.
But for others, talk of entryism is like a grim echo of the past. Back in the mid-1980s, the far-left group Militant were a party within a party, and Neil Kinnock took them on and won.
I'm telling you, you can't play politics with people's jobs and with people's services.
So has the problem returned?
The idea that there are 300,000 or more entrists is absurd. There are people who have returned to the Labour Party who have the objective of securing the control of the movement by the ultra-left. They're well organised, they're experienced, they are obsessive, and they probably exert a disproportionate amount of influence.
Cool town, evening in the city, dressed so fine and looking so pretty. Average day in Brighton.
Early August and it's Pride weekend. A celebration of gay rights in Brighton. For MP Peter Kyle, today's a reminder of what Labour can achieve when it's in power.
Many of the freedoms that we're celebrating today here were actually granted by a Labour government, from equalisation of the age of consent to gays being allowed to serve in the military through to civil partnerships.
But it's divorce that springs to mind when talk turns to Labour's leadership battle. Chris Henry, Peter Kyle's right-hand man, has been calling Labour members to get them to vote for Owen Smith.
What's genuinely taken me by surprise is that the figures are practically 50-50, 60-40. 60-40 for Jeremy, obviously, but it genuinely is much closer than I was expecting. Owen Smith's got an absolute exhaustive schedule of touring around because, you know, we're well aware that he needs to raise his profile. He needs to let people know what he stands for. And, you know, let's be honest, a lot of people are saying, who is Owen Smith?
Everyone say socialism!
Momentum is also at Pride. They're busy signing people up to the Jeremy for Leader campaign.
Email address is best.
This kind of street campaigning, harnessing people power, is what the Corbyn phenomenon is all about.
We are getting enormous amounts of support for Corbyn. A lot of them are Labour Party members, a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are thinking of becoming Labour Party members. I think the membership growth has only just begun.
If Jeremy Corbyn does win the leadership election, some members of the local party are talking about deselecting Peter Kyle. He'd effectively be sacked as Labour's candidate before the next general election.
If you're an MP who is politically against nationalising the railways, if you're an MP who is politically against ending academy schools, if you're an MP that's politically against taxing the rich, if you're an MP who's politically against stopping the privatisation of the NHS and bringing it back into full public ownership, then why would you want to stand as a candidate for a party that supports those things? If he can convince the local members that he will stand for the Labour Party's policies and fight for them, and if he can convince people that those are ideas he genuinely supports, then maybe. I very much doubt he can do that.
Peter Kyle knows he faces a battle to hold on to his job.
I hope he comes and stands against me so that I can ask him what he's done for the Labour Party in the last 20 years, and I can say what I've done for the Labour Party in the last 20 years, and then we can put that to the vote. Well, I think the party has probably split more radically already than it was in the 1980s. I think we are standing absolutely at the edge of a cliff. And it might well be that one or other of the factions, or both of us, end up going over it. I really think it's that serious.
Well, do you think this could be the end of the Labour Party?
Of course it could be the end of the Labour Party. I mean, no party has a right to exist.
And it's not just Brighton. Though Jeremy Corbyn denies he wants a purge of hostile MPs, one of his most powerful allies has a clear warning.
I believe some of the MPs have behaved absolutely despicably and disgracefully, and they've not shown any respect whatsoever to the leader. They should be held to account.
So those vocal dissidents who do not show the sort of respect to the leader that you describe when it comes to deselection, they would simply be asking for it, you say?
I think they would. I think anybody who kind of behaves in a way that is totally disrespectful and outwit the culture of the Labour Party is basically asking to be held to account.
The trouble with all of this is that it destabilises the party. It means that we're fighting each other. It loosens the collective bonds that we have when we work together and cooperate at local level and deliver real results for people. And it means that we're distracted from the real task, which is to unite, to move forwards, to form not just an opposition, but a government in waiting and take that fight to the Tories.
Last weekend, and the Trade Union Congress rolls into Brighton. While the unions plough through debate after debate about Brexit, workers' rights, outside the hall, everyone's talking about the future of the party the unions set up to be their political voice. The unions are split for and against Jeremy Corbyn, but they're united in agreeing that Labour is in a very bad place. Thank you very much. Have you ever seen Labour in this kind of condition in your life?
I remember difficult days through the 80s. People come through in the end, because in the end the ultimate lesson is only united parties win. If you're divided, you lose. And I'm afraid that's the real lesson of politics that everybody has to learn at some point.
Most believe leadership challenger Owen Smith is going to lose. He's here on the hunt for votes. Getting towards the end here, right?
Yep.
So it's been tough. Did you ever think it was going to be as tough as it's turned out to be for you?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be exactly this tough right from the beginning. So we were no illusions as to how this was going to be. It was obviously going to be an argument within the family, and those are always difficult, aren't they?
You say you think you're going to win. You are the only person I've spoken to who thinks that.
Well, all I can say is I know what we're doing in terms of the phone calls we've been making and the contacts we've been making, and that's showing that this is still evenly balanced, and I'm going to keep on going right to the last job.
With the race almost over, Jeremy Corbyn looks like a winner. But can he win the election, which matters the most? You must accept that from where you stand now, you have a mountain to climb to get anywhere near being a credible alternative government. You're not going to deny that, are you?
Don't judge everything by opinion polls. Think of a couple of factors. Last general election, less than half of the young people who had registered to vote actually took part in the election. In the poorest parts of the country, the turnout was the lowest. The involvement of young people in political activity is far greater than it was a year ago.
So you're relying on people in great numbers voting who have not voted in the past, who tend not to vote. Isn't that pie in the sky?
No, it's no pies in any sky.
Do you accept that the party, your party, after this leadership contest, has to unite again or face political oblivion?
We have to unite as a party, and actually, by and large, we are united as a party. And I say to the Parliamentary Labour Party, come together.
Since the Brexit vote, British politics has never been quite so volatile, or the country so divided. Many yearn for a stronger opposition to the government. And even Team Corbyn tell me, frankly, they need to improve. Do you accept that you and the leader, Jeremy Corbyn, have to polish up your act in terms of just delivering a better performance in opposing the government?
We've all got to raise our level of our game. I think we've all got to learn lessons. I'm extremely honest here, but I've had enough of politicians who think they're God's gift to politics and the earth, etc. We've made mistakes like everybody else. We're willing to learn the lessons from our own Parliamentary Labour Party, particularly members who have been in this position before us.
A bit of tutoring from some of the old hands?
Well, why not? Yeah, why not?
Most expect Jeremy Corbyn will win. But if he does, even with tutoring, reuniting the party now looks as good as impossible. Some MPs who resigned from his shadow cabinet have told me privately they're contemplating returning to the team, but they won't pledge loyalty to his leadership. Hostility to Jeremy Corbyn runs deep.
Not just in my lifetime, but stretching back to the 1930s. By any examination, this is the greatest crisis that the Labour Party has faced.
You believe you may not see another Labour government in your lifetime, then?
I'm 74, and unless things change radically and rapidly, it's very doubtful that I'll see another Labour government in my lifetime.
For all the dire warnings, Labour MPs I've spoken to don't believe Labour is about to split. But without unity, without reconnecting with the millions of voters who've turned their backs, Labour faces a dark future. Slow decay, broken as a major force in British politics.